The purpose of this committee meeting are for the city departments to pass along information to the city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of the city council, and the city administrator or designee. The ordinance mandates the city administrator as the chair of the committee meetings. By ordinance, the committee makes no formal decisions on committee matters. Rather, items are voted to move to a council meeting for consideration and vote, or staff receives guidance from the committee regarding a matter. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during the committee meetings. Public comments or questions are received at the regular city council meetings held at 7 p.m. in the city council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month. So to start this meeting, let me point out that there's a Recreation and Parks item, which is number 7 on your agenda, which is a presentation of the Economic Impact Report for River Parks Master Plan. That's going to be deferred to a future committee meeting. Item number 1 on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of the Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting of January 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Tyser. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Councilmember Wilsey. All in favor, raise your hand. That passes unanimously. So we'll move into the community development portion. Item number 2, consideration of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code regarding temporary sign, construction sign.
Yes, good evening. So we discussed this at the work session in January about adding a height limit for construction signs, since we do not currently have one in the code. What we do have for real estate signs is 10 feet. So we were looking at putting in 10 feet for the construction signs to make them across the board. So that's the main portion of this. However, at the work session, the mayor asked us if we would check into the construction fence wraps. So we looked at Sandy Springs and Fulton County, and from those two, I took basically combined them together and thought we would add a new section to the construction sign portion to relate to the fence wrapping when we have construction sites.
Is there any questions regarding
Any questions?
Is number 4 actually what other places do? They say 20%?
Yes. I can take a look again. Wait a minute. One of them might have been 30.
I'm just not sure how you know.
One of them had a number on it. Here it is. The one from Sandy Springs actually had 30%. So I just figured 10, 20, 30, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it's just going to be hard to,
Yeah, I know. It's hard. We have signs currently for signs inside a window. We only allow 30% of the window. So we kind of, that's easier to check. And I know you're right. We would just have to take a look, I guess, and have people give us the square footage portion of the whole wrap and see what we can do. I know, it'll be difficult. But I did take that from Sandy Springs.
But they were 30.
They were 30. We could be 30. I just thought, 20, 30, somewhere in that range.
This may be getting a little too much into the aesthetics of it, but like typically are colors controlled at all? Like
typically what you have when you have the wrap around a construction site is that they usually have the logo of the company that's doing the construction, and the color usually reflects the logo. Occasionally, and you'll see, especially if it's a larger development, you'll see a rendering of the development on there.
Right.
None of the other jurisdictions we found that have them had anything related to color.
I mean, I know I've seen some of the bright orange ones, which I think may be erosion specific.
Those are erosion.
Is there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess I'm just,
30.
Why do we have to be different?
Okay, well, we can put 30 in. We don't have to be different.
I would imagine these companies have, they don't get these signs made or the wraps made for every project, right? I would just be concerned that their 30% wraps for other cities don't work in our 20% city.
That's kind of where I'm coming from. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we will change that for when it comes through. If you for initiation, we'll put it in as 30%. So basically what this vote is for is to place it on a council agenda for initiation.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move to approve at 30%.
Motion by Councilmember Wilsey to move forward with 30% and a second by Councilmember Grower. All in favor, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you.
The second item we have on tonight's agenda is related to our common open space and landscaped open space in Articles 4, 5, 6, and 6. So what we indicated is we had a problem with our common open space in Article 11 at the work session where it related to certain classifications and it didn't work. So what we've done under the townhouse building type in all these articles is under letter F, so basically here, we're changing letter F, which currently says common open space, to landscaped open space under Article 4. Article 5 will be exactly the same to change to landscaped open space. And in Article 6, we don't even have it. So if somebody wanted to build a townhouse in our office and employment classifications right now, they wouldn't be required to put in any open space at this point in time. So we are adding a letter F to indicate that they need to do landscaped open space a minimum of 20%. Any questions?
Can you just remind me of what the discussion was?
So in our,
what the problem was?
Yes. The problem in our current code, it states in these two articles, so we'll use here where it says common open space. So this is a townhouse in the corridor node districts. The corridor node districts are RX, NX, CX, CC, CH. Well, if you go to common open space in Article 11, that definition states any subdivision in the RS9, RS6, RS4, and RTH. Well, this won't work for that because that is not the zoning for these townhouse building types.
Right.
So we're adding this to change it to landscaped open space so that we can at least be able to require this.
I guess I'm remembering back to the meeting. Wasn't this the discussion about common space versus just landscape space, and you were just going to turn it all into landscape space?
So yes, what we've done is change it all into landscaped open space.
Right. So it's there, but it's called.
Yes, it's called common.
Now they're able to use the landscape piece
Yes.
to count towards common.
No, just landscaped open space. Look at it that way.
Right, but it's
Yes.
now one.
It's now one.
Yes.
Mhm.
Any other comments or questions? Have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve?
A motion by Councilmember Grover to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
We have one other thing we just want to say. Based on the meeting from Monday night related to the mixed use, and you had requested to discuss it again while it's in process. So we are placing it on the March committee so that everybody can discuss it again as a group. Okay? We just wanted to let you know that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move into the transportation portion of the agenda. Item number 4 is consideration of a change order request by the National Park Service to the AECOM design and permitting of mitigation elements for the proposed bridge that crosses Vickery Creek in the amount of $346,470. Steve?
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everyone. We have a compromise bridge we'd like to present to you tonight, and I'll turn it over to Rob for the details.
Good evening, everyone. This is a follow-up from the item we had in October. Staff was directed to bring Mayor Henry and Councilmember Grower to a discussion with Superintendent Bill Cox to try and find a compromise for the bridge that they were requesting. If you remember, they were asking for a bridge similar to what they saw in Seattle at another unit. We were hoping to convince them to go towards more of the picture that you see on the right on the screen. Fortunately, after discussion, they were willing to reduce their ask go towards a bridge similar to what you see on the right at a reduced width. What that means for us in our contract for AECom is we're asking for a change order for $346,000. We're asking for a change order for design for $346,000. One other element that we included in your packets, in your summary, that we'd like to point out, previous to today, when we've started these mitigation elements with National Park from the beginning, we've always used a target number for the design and the permitting and the construction of all the elements in their unit. We were targeting roughly $1 million. With this change, with the additional design money that we're asking for you now, with the additional construction money that will be due when the project's ready for construction, that shift has taken place, and that $1 million number is closer to $2 million at this point. All of those elements are T-SPLOST eligible. What we'd be recommending to you tonight is to take $346,000 of the $1 million we have for Historic Gateway for T-SPLOST in order to finalize this change order.
Is there any questions for transportation?
So, okay, so additional 346 on top of what we were gonna spend before, which is how much?
The current contract for AECom is more than just this bridge. So the current contract for AECom is the NEPA permitting, all of the environmental permitting for everything we're building in their unit, and the design of trails within their unit. Their current contract was actually started before T-SPLOST came online. Their current contract, I don't have that exact number, I think it's roughly $500,000, $500,000.
And then, how much cheaper is this than the last time this came to committee? I don't remember what the numbers were. I remember that
Roughly half.
Okay, so we saved 350 or so.
If you add up the difference in design and construction, yes, it's at least that.
And then how much is construction going to be?
That's a tough number to estimate because we haven't, so for everyone, the biggest difference in the way I can describe the two pictures you see on the screen, the picture on the left is a prefab. Think of it as something you can buy off the shelf. You purchase that bridge and you kind of retrofit it to your site conditions, and it's very little engineering effort. It's basically been engineered for you.
Yeah.
The picture on the right is a custom engineered, a PE from the consultant is designing every single unit and element and site adapting it to the specific site. That's why the design cost is so much higher, and that's why it's difficult for staff to estimate that without a design. We know it's going to be obviously more expensive than the picture on the left. We think it will be less than $1 million to construct it. Again, the rough number for, if we look at the total of national park elements out the door, design, permitting, construction, we're still optimistic that'll be under $2 million.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for transportation? Is there a motion for this item?
I'd like to hear from the council where people's heads are on this. I'm still struggling with it for this bridge, but at the same time, we need to work with the national park, and it could be really cool. So I don't know what your all's opinions are on this one.
I mean, I also think it could be really cool, but that sounds like a lot. I mean, typically, is that like a reasonable amount to spend on a bridge like this? I mean,
it's a reasonable amount for a custom design engineered bridge, which we don't have. I can't think of one example we have really in the city. If you're familiar with,
this really isn't our bailiwick.
Sure.
Trails through the river, but
the picture on the left. So I'm sorry to interrupt. The picture on the left is exactly what we have down near Riverside Park. If you're familiar, next to the river,
right,
connecting Riverside Park over to the area. To the west.
And if you know the area where this is going to go, it doesn't look anything like the picture on the right. Okay, it's much more overgrown. There's rock, cliff on one side, the sewer pipe. It will have a set of steps like this, but so just the fact that it's deep inside the national forest, there's going to be elements of constructability, and part of this estimate involves the extra geotech work that we have to do for the rock analysis on how they're going to design the foundations for the two endpoints. So remember, I think if we just go back to 50,000 feet, this is all mitigation for the Gateway project. This was our contribution to their trail system in lieu of us paying for the right-of-way we needed for the project. So it has been kind of a moving target. I think they went pretty far with their ask beyond what we originally had scoped, and now they've come back and met us halfway. So it's more than what we had budgeted, but it's less than what sort of their peak ask was. And we've been dealing with this for years and years. This is not going to get any cheaper as we go farther along. I think we've sort of reached the end of the road, if you will, on where we're going to reach a compromise on this. And it is more expensive than what we had, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be a facility inside Roswell that we'll all benefit forever on. So,
How much does the bridge on the left cost total? Design and construction?
I don't know.
it was in the 200 range.
For the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at
So it's another
150 plus a million? So it's
well,
10 times as much.
no, well, and we're not comparing apples to apples, because there still would have been a monumental task getting that bridge built deep inside the national
there was
forest.
the issues of construction, traffic, and
Big
hauling that
cranes.
into the
This
woods.
one won't require the big cranes that the other one did, so it won't be as invasive as far as just getting the stuff down there.
The issues of constructability at our specific site will not change whether you're dealing with a prefab structure or a custom structure. So the reason why it's not 10 times more, just because the picture on the left cost, I'm just going to use a number, $200,000, doesn't mean we'd be able to get that same bridge for $200,000 at our site.
We'll call it 400. I mean, it's still.
I guess that's the question is, if we decide on the bridge on the right side or the left side, what's the difference in cost? I mean, has anybody done?
And can we even make this choice, or does the
Yeah.
national park have to agree to it?
Well, they would, and
the-
that's what's before you today.
The national park does not support the picture on the left as the aesthetic feature that blends in with their environment and their unit.
So that's
don't-
not
That
a
would have been a good place to start.
This one doesn't blend in with our budget, though. So.
Well, T-Splosh has made the decision a lot easier. At least it's not.
I know, it's still money, though. I just, more question. I'm trying to think what it was. I don't know. I don't know where we go with this. I think we're stuck in a way. The budget, though, for the original Gateway indicated that we were at $1 million in what is it?
From the-
mitigation fees.
From day one, when we started talking about mitigation for the national parks, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and we had a list for them on the things that they'd like the city to construct in their unit in lieu of paying for the acre plus of land that the project needed from them. The target number we had at the time was $1 million.
Is that in the contract as $1 million?
That is
or
not in the contract. That is a planning estimate that we were using for staff. Over time, obviously, construction escalation, and with the change in the bridge type from the picture on the left to the picture on the right, what I'm saying is that $1 million number, that target estimate of ours, has increased to $2 million.
So it's really a barter. I mean, it's a horse trade, right? So we want something, they want something. We had to come up with some valuations for some non sequitur. These things, right away for a road versus a trail network. It's hard to compare apples to apples as far as a thing. So it was just like, if you need this land, we want these improvements.
Yeah.
Was that the only other option that they would accept, design-wise?
The picture on the right is the cheapest option that we've encountered that they will accept, yes. And it's a compromise from what they originally asked for.
Is this that company in Seattle?
This is not the company in Seattle.
Did we
The company
talk
in
to them?
Seattle was significantly more expensive than this.
All right, well, I guess we're stuck here. It's a compromise. I'm not crazy about it, but I don't know what else we can do. Does anyone else got anyone know how to build a bridge?
I agree. I mean, I guess, you have to look at the way that it fits in with the character of the land and the, the benefit that it gives to hikers and
Right.
people who are down using the park.
When it's actually in place, it will
When
be
it's
very
in
cool.
place.
Yes.
Right.
It will be.
All right, motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Grower. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Wilsey. All in favor to move this forward, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. That's a tough decision, but we appreciate you
Thank you.
working that out. Item number 5 is the discussion of a resident request to pave Kent Road and Crowe Road.
So we understand that you wanted to bring this forward tonight. I'll just tell you a little bit of history. We've had issues with maintenance. We have several dirt roads in the city of Roswell, and we have a maintenance program for them. We threw up a couple of charts and just some talking points for you. So I'll walk through this. So this is just so that you oriented on Kent Road. So Kent Road lives between King Road and Etris, and it's a pretty nice road. It's 3,600 feet long. We've gone back and forth on paving it over the years, but these are generally some elements that we would need to pave it. You just can't go in and lay asphalt on top of a dirt road. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm happy to answer any of those questions, but it's harder than you think. It is something, though, that you can go to the next slide. It is something. Here's some thoughts for your consideration. So over the years, we've gotten lots of complaints about dust, especially in the summertime. As you drive on it, you get airborne particles. Potholes, speeding, gravel in the road. Gravel in the road is primarily, if you go back one slide, here on the Etris side, there's just a natural washing of the gravel that goes into the road, and we have to maintain that all the time. So we are out there all the time. It breaks up a large block. From our point of view, the connectivity here is great, and we'd like to, it would be a great improvement to our mobility network, and we would like to recommend to pave it, but there's still a lot more to this discussion. This is just to tee it up. The next one is Crowe. Just for your information, it's way out here on the northwestern quadrant. This is Cox Road. Crowe goes and connects twice to Cox, but there's a county boundary here. And so it does not all live in Roswell. About 70% of it does. So about 3,000 feet long. We tried to, same issues here, dust, potholes, maintenance, those sorts of things. We tried to do a little test on this with what we call a surface treatment, which is where you put down a layer of gravel, then you shoot some asphalt on it, and then you roll that in, and we did a double of that. That's a typical country maintenance. That's just sort of a cheap way of keeping the dust down. The problem is it's not structural. It's just a little thin crust on top. And so the potholes came back. It did keep the dust down, but there's still a lot of maintenance that goes on out there. So this one, because it doesn't really add to our mobility network, it will be expensive. You can go to the next slide. It will be expensive to pave it. I've been in contact with the county Public Works Director in Cherokee County. He has no interest at all in paving his section. And unfortunately, the way the topography works is you're sort of going downhill as you enter into Cherokee County. And one of the things we would have to keep in mind is that if you decided that you wanted to pave our section, we would need to probably build like a concrete cap on the end because otherwise the road would just break off from the tire pressure. that's great for us, but the other side is going to erode down, and it would be a big drop-off that Cherokee County would then have to continually maintain. So paving our section of Lum Crowe is, there's some engineering challenges with that. So we are not recommending paving Lum Crowe. And that's just sort of tease it up. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to that, Rob, but open it up for your discussion and guidance.
So I have some questions. Can we go back to the Kent Road slide? The next one, actually. So what I'm seeing right here is, so citizen issues, complaints about dust, potholes, speeding, and gravel in the road, and also some want it paved, some don't. So my goal is I want to address issues and always want to do it for the lowest cost possible. So if we go back to the prior slide, right here, what I'm seeing is the cost right here comes to $413. I'm seeing, okay, here's what the paved lanes. I assume guardrail improvements are crucial for safety with that. Obviously, same thing with erosion control.
Right.
The bottom two, I guess, surprised me because it didn't sound like either of those two are related specific to the citizen concerns and really addressing it.
No, but that's an engineering, that's a road design issue. Kent Road right now is probably, it varies, but it's probably 16 to 20 feet wide. So it's really just a one-lane road, but you can comfortably, if the two cars are approaching each other, you can get around without one falling into a ditch. But you can't, it's not really designed for two-way traffic. If we put the asphalt on there, we really need to either design it for two-way traffic or come up with some of the road standard where two cars, say at night, don't collide. And so you need to have some kind of positive guidance for the car. We don't necessarily need a 50 feet of right-of-way with 12-foot lanes. It doesn't have to be a highway design. But I'm just saying that once we move it into an unimproved dirt road, into even a modestly improved paved road, there are some things that we have to include, like guardrails and some other things like that, the armoring the shoulders so that people don't slide off into the ditches.
And those ones make sense to me. It was more of the bottom two seemed to me like those are definitely parts of having the best ideal road, but it just didn't sound to me like those are necessarily.
It's not going to look like a typical resident. It still won't look like a typical residential road at the end.
The other thing I'll add is if you look at the relative cost of the 5 bullets, if we were to drop the bottom two, you're not saving a whole lot.
And that was going to be a question I was going to have.
So if you could go to the next slide a second. The second bullet. Others don't want it paved. Do you know why?
Cut through traffic.
And what's the numbers of those who want it and those who don't?
It depends, and I'm sure you'll hear people in the audience who will tell you there's only a few people that actually live on the road. Most of the complaints that we get are the people who back up to the road. The dust complaints are, and so again, you can see in its location, it's breaking up a really big block. There's nothing between Cox and, say, the Chafin Hardscrabble. That's a long way. That's a lot of land without a road connection. And people drive it today. We think it would be a wonderful improvement strictly from a mobility and connectivity standpoint. And if we did pave it, there would be more people using it. But the dust would obviously go away, which is a big source of complaints, especially in the summertime when we have droughts. And, as far as the speeding, I mean, it's probably no different than anywhere else. The thing is, it's dark out there at night. We hadn't planned on putting on any streetlights out there, for instance. So it's still going to be a country road, if you will. It'll just be a country road that doesn't erode away as fast. And I'll just tell you this: as far as the dollar amount, it's really just a quick staff estimate. We're not going to spend a lot of time designing this road. If your decision is to pave it, we'll go back and we'll refine that number. We'll dial in a lot more. This is just a high level kind of planning estimate. Because if you decide not to do it, then we don't want to.
How many gravel roads do we have? These are the only 2, correct?
8. No, we have 8.
Do we really? Mm-hmm. Where are the others? I assume they're up there near Milton, right?
Old Riverside. I can. So this is a gravel road down here. So the other side of Lum Crowe is called Lackey. There's a section of Lackey Road that's unpaved. There's a handful of them scattered all around.
Three of them are basically driveways every 2-3 lots.
Yeah.
And the biggest, the longest one is Old Riverside Road. But those residents.
Which is down here.
The residents do not want it paved. That we know that for sure. The most complaint that comes in from Kent Road and Uncle Extension. Okay. The other, they don't complain much about it. We don't hear from them. Especially Old Riverside, they don't want it paved. That's why.
Can we go back to Crowe? So, what are the odds that when we pave this, if we pave it, that Cherokee then is like, well, we better pave our side? I mean, is it just
I don't think it's a priority for them at all.
Yeah, whether or not we pave it.
Correct. I don't think us paving it will definitely create probably a new paradigm for them that they'll have to, they may or may not. I mean, I can call Jeff and ask him, hey, look, if we pave it, it's going to put a lot of pressure on you because we're going to have to reinforce our end, and that's going to cause scour on your end. So,
it just feels like one of those things similar to what we did with Alpharetta and the sidewalks. If we're all out there paving, it would be a lot cheaper for them to pave at the same time, I would think, right?
Well, their part is, interestingly enough, I don't know if you've ever driven it out there, but our part is in a lot better condition than their part. I'll just say that. I mean, theirs is twisty and windy, and ours is mostly flat and runs along the ridge line. So it's a much more comfortable ride. I've ridden it on my bike too, and it's not their part would need a lot of work. The drainage, their ditches are a mess. I don't think they maintain it the same way we do.
Is it used as a connecting from point A to point B?
No, it's driveway. It's driveways. There's many houses. There's houses that front all along here. You can kind of see this closer. These houses front Cox Road, and then there's a series of houses back here that actually front Crowe. And we have sort of the same thing. It's just they're spread out a lot longer and they're deeper into the woods.
Do we have a fire and safety issue with getting fire trucks back there, given the condition of the road?
No, our fire trucks would be fine going back there. They could bear that weight.
Okay.
Would it be possible, so I know you checked in with Cherokee to see if they had any interest in paving their portion themselves. Is it possible to check in specifically if we were to, handle all the mobilization aspects, we were to be paving that, if they'd be willing and interested to pay just the incremental amount to pay?
Say like reimburse us for their section?
Lines?
I can ask, but I'm going to tell you that my gut is that the amount of earthwork required on their side would be significant. Like it might be just as much earthwork just for that little side. It's really deteriorated.
Gotcha.
I haven't been out there in maybe a couple months. I rode it, I don't know, November, and it was rough. So the earthwork, and remember that you also that you're going to bring in a whole bunch of engineering design standards. So let's say you have a fairly sharp turn. These dotted lines don't actually reflect what's actually out there. There's a pretty tight turn right there on the Cherokee County side. Once you pave that, the speeds go up. Then we have to start thinking about, do we have to do? We can sign it all we want and say 10-mile-an-hour curve, but if somebody goes off into a ditch, then we have some liability for something like that. So, I will reach out to the Public Works Director and see what his thoughts are. If your intention is you'd really like to go ahead and pave it and see what kind of intergovernmental agreement we could work out, I'd be happy to reach out to him.
My sense is absolutely yes on Kent, and I would like to get Lumber done in the same budget cycle if we can. We hear from the residents there. I think a city our size, if the residents are asking for paved roads, I think it makes a lot of sense, even if we have an issue with Cherokee County. That's my sense. So I think the first time we could really fund this would be in the next budget cycle.
We'd be happy to. We'll put some. Probably maybe 2 separate line items.
Yeah.
One for each.
Is there any, you know, you gave us a copy of the resident petition here. Is there anybody on Crowe who's against paving?
Is anyone from Crowe in the audience? Well, there we go.
Pretty much everybody here.
Is there anyone on that street that's opposed to the paving? One person. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So what I'd like to take you out there. I'll drive it out there with you. It'll be very clear what our role is versus. No, we can.
So what I'd like to explore is, so definitely for Crowe, I want to explore further because there's clear, you know, a lot of resident support for that, and I think we need to explore that. As for Kent, before we just move forward and go ahead and do it, I'd like the city to really verify the support behind it from the individuals most affected, because I saw on the slide it said some want it, some don't. I'd just like to better quantify and understand that.
So, okay, so maybe we need some help. So there are the people that actually have addresses on Kent Road. And then there are people that have their backyards adjacent to it. That has always been a bit of a struggle for us about, you know, for instance, if we just took a poll of the people whose addresses were on Kent, that would give you one set of data. If we said everybody that's sort of in the adjacent area, it's going to give you another set of data. So it's kind of a little bit hard for us. The people that live on the road, we think, have the more vested interest in what, you know, it's their driveway essentially. And they know that if we pave it, there will be a lot more traffic on it than there is today. So we can go back and ask those people, and we'll come back maybe with you, and we'll also refine. If you're leaning towards paving it, then we have some work to do as far as refining these numbers in order to give you.
It seems to me like the next time we'll hear about this is when you present it as a line item in the budget.
Yes, sir. That's more than likely.
I think that would be the right way to go about it.
Well, except my concern would be I wouldn't want to see it when we have so many different line items in the budget. I wouldn't want that being a line item and it turning out that everybody that lived there was all against it, and we just have a multiple line item that we're voting for or against. I'm talking about for Kent. So I think Crowe, there definitely is support where I want to explore.
All right, I think we have the guidance we need as staff.
I mean, Councilman Crowe, do you have any concerns with that?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, next committee meeting, will we have the information we need, which is still ahead of the budget?
Neo, do you think we can work on that?
We can try and get all the information.
I feel like I have higher confidence on Kent since we own the whole thing.
Yeah.
It really depends on how quickly I can get with Cherokee County and find out what their temperature is.
The biggest problem with Cherokee County, the twofold here, they haven't maintained that stuff. I mean, you can go there tomorrow and you can see.
I'll take you out there.
And the drainage issue, where we're going to stop at the county line.
Yeah.
And that stuff at Cox Road, they got a big site distance problem.
Mm-hmm.
At the
That's a good
intersection
point.
of Cox.
Sure. So so Cox Road, as you're moving from west to east, is going uphill at this point, and you've got a horizontal curve here and another horizontal curve there, and the speeds are pretty high. And so that where the road, not that it's any different really in ours. In fact, this is not a great intersection. It's sort of a 5-leg intersection, and we've had accidents out there. It is probably something that we need to look at in addition to this, which is maybe improving the sight distance out there as well. So.
So, all right, so let's just put it on the agenda for the next committee and see how far we've made it by then.
All right.
I don't think you'll care, but.
Be happy to do that, Councilmember Grower.
I think we understand clearly, where the residents are on Crowe, and I think, if you can work through those issues, we certainly ought to get it into the budget cycle. The other one, I really would like to understand a little bit more about, how big is the dispute. And if it isn't that big, I agree with Councilmember Grower. We're a big city. We got to pave roads.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Okay.
All right. Steve, Rob, thank y'all. Steve, thank you for a lot of years of service.
You're welcome.
You just sat through your last ComDev Transportation Committee meeting. Steve is retiring for now anyway from here. Enjoy yourself, have fun. It's been an absolute honor working with you.
Well, that's...
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
We'll move into the Public Works section. We have an item number 6, which is the consideration of a revised curbside yard waste collection route schedule. And I will let Mr. Skowski talk to you about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this item is an item that we wanted to talk about after renewing our yard waste and recycling contract, which was approved last August, I believe. And one of the concerns that you all had requested we bring back was adjustments to the yard waste schedule. So this item is our best effort, together with Advanced Disposal's best effort, at leveling our yard waste schedule and minimizing the number of folks who have to change the day that their yard waste collection would occur on. And what I'd like to do is just give you a visual of that. So we are, in the item, describing the current distribution of customers across the 5-day week, and 41% of our customers are picked up on Monday. And that's a logistical problem, and that was one of the things that was up for adjustment when we recompeted the contract. So we have about 21% of our customers who need to move off of Wednesday onto other days. And the best plan that Advanced Disposal could come up with that we were comfortable with, and if you look at this graphic, this is in red all of the Monday pickup today. The red area shrinks, and they're moving to a couple of different days. So some are going to Tuesday, and some are going to Thursday, I believe. And there are some other minor adjustments. The minimum that they could possibly have done to move the number of customers we were talking about was about 5,500. This plan is about 6,500 customers, and that accommodates some optimization of their routes and consolidation of the routes. You'll see there's a few days where some areas are getting a little tighter. So we think this is the best that we can do and the best that'll be efficient for collection, and it should improve overall customer service and allow us to actually collect on the scheduled days, which we had not been able to do under the old arrangement. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So Dan, I mean, obviously a lot of people are moving from Monday to Tuesday. Is there anybody moving more than one day? Because there's a little weird set of numbers here when you get to...
Some of the Monday customers are moving to a Tuesday, Wednesday, or, I'm sorry, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Yeah,
there are some of those Monday customers that are moving to Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Okay.
So I just want to make clear, every single person gets collected 1 day a week today, and in the future, if this proposed passes, they still get collected 1 time per week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Who did the route optimization, or I'm having flashbacks to my career here, but I'm just curious how advanced this analysis was.
Well, we have a representative from Advanced Disposal here to address it. I can tell you, and Charles, you're welcome to come to the table if you'd like to respond. The one thing that I know their prioritization was based on is the loading. So the loading varies substantially across the city, and the city tends to get most of its yard waste participants up in the northwestern and western portion of the county, the city, and then there's a significant portion in the Horseshoe Bend area that take advantage. So I think that was Charles's primary objective, was addressing the peak loading areas early in the week, which had always been the case with our Monday pickup, which was, again, a legacy arrangement from when the city did all of this, and they did full staff on Monday, picking up nothing but yard waste, and then trash during Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a little bit of yard waste the rest of the week. So with that, Charles, do you have anything you want to add on the optimization?
Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Charles Johnson. I'm General Manager with Advanced Disposal.
what I will say about this is about participation. The northwest side of the city, it's a lot of participation. It's less participation on the southwest side of the city. So we optimize the routes. We want to make sure we maintain balance. So when we have those shingle shakers, when we have those storms, or like the season's coming up where we scalping the grass, everybody's going to have a lot of bags out. So in order to maintain that balance, we balance the days out with participation in mind. So when we do have those issues, we can make sure we get to everybody on their scheduled day.
I think that makes perfect sense. If you were to lay the zoning map, you'd see the suburban residential is the most heavily.
You have a lot of mature area in that area too.
Right.
Up in that Brookfield, Wexford, it's a lot of mature trees out there. People are really into taking care of their yards. Not that the other ones don't.
Right.
But like Horseshoe Bend, they use a lot of landscapers, so they come and they do their stuff and they take it away. Those people like to get out in their yard and work, so.
I do.
Just so you know, that's Marie's favorite.
And she also uses a landscaper, by the way.
But I think they do leave yard waste.
Dan, I'm very much in favor of load leveling. My only concern is, and I guess before we'd want to put this into place, I really would like to understand who's moving more than one day. Because if you're used to getting your stuff picked up on Monday, and now I'm going to tell you got to keep it till Thursday, those people aren't going to be very happy. If it goes from Monday to Tuesday, they might not be happy, but it's less of a, it's less of an issue.
So I can tell you that we are in the process of preparing notifications for all the customers that will be changing days. That information is available now. I believe we just received it this week, and now we're working on the notification process, preparing letters to each of those customers. We can give you numbers, we can give you addresses, and we can prepare some follow-up information on that for you. I'm not sure if that's going to be a prerequisite to this being approved.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you came back and said there's, 10 people who are moving more than, one day, it's a much different issue than if you tell me there's 4,000.
Now, I can tell you, well, I can get very close to a reasonable answer to that tomorrow. I don't think I could do it right here on the spot.
Okay.
Okay? That helps.
Is there any other comments or questions regarding this item? Is there a motion for this item?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Grower. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Councilmember Wilsey. All in favor, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. And with that, we are adjourned.
Kaiser was rooting for some kind of 2-2 tie. Kept on looking at me.
With the condition that we need to know that information.
He said one of the
when they see that.
You I think it's arm wrestle for it after that.
Understood.
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be?